Hello, friends. Welcome back to Film Chewing and welcome to the Oscars Project. We are back again to discuss the 1976 Best Picture winner, Rocky. The runners up that year were All the President's Men, Bound for Glory, Network, and Taxi Driver. So, as my two wonderful co-hosts introduce themselves, I have a question for them, which is: have you ever wanted to try drinking a glass of raw eggs?
Oh, oh,
Be honest. It's never crossed your mind.
No.
Be honest.
Absolutely not. It's so
You've never
gross.
been curious? Come on.
No.
You've never been curious what that's like?
that I think that bit was CGI.
Would be now.
That was rough.
Yeah.
I know. As soon as he
Good
first
thinking.
cracked the first one, I was like, no. And then he keeps cracking them.
I feel like half a dozen
No.
eggs in that glass.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
rough.
please.
You've never been curious? You've never wondered? Not that you'd ever get a glass, like, actually gotten very far, but you've never wondered what that's like? I mean,
But I think of a fairly good idea what it would be like. I'm pretty confident that I can predict what that's going to taste like. It's not like, oh, somebody says like put ice cream in chili and cucumbers together, and you go, well, maybe, possibly that could be nice. But 6 raw eggs in a glass. I'm pretty sure I know what that's going to be like.
yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Just every time I see that scene, I think maybe.
Wow.
It's a lifestyle change coming. Yeah. Maybe you could be Rocky too.
I'll run through the streets of Philadelphia and drink some raw eggs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't see that that practice helping me at all.
Yeah. But there's probably better options now than there were, it's probably better fitness options now.
You've got fuel and all that kind of stuff now, isn't it? White food. And,
Oh yeah. So Rocky's it's kind of I feel like it's a timeless movie. It's a movie that I think everyone can relate to in some way, or everyone can be inspired by in some way. And while there's some details I'm sure we'll talk about, I think overall the message is a pretty inspiring one. I think it's a pretty inspiring movie, and kind of an underdog story, and some hard work, persistence, and a little bit of luck.
Yeah. That's definitely it feels like that's what they were going for with the film. Because because they gloss over a lot of other stuff in the film, I think. And they definitely ram home that underdog story. That's like the focus, and it's very interesting in the contrast to the you have this underdog, this guy from the streets, and he's going up against basically an American symbol, because the guy has all the paraphernalia all over him, and he's kind of a corporate dude. He's kind of a he's got a business to run, not just being the best boxer, but also being he's running a business, his opponent, and so it's kind of has that undertone, that underlying message of sticking it to the man as well, and overcoming the obstacles that these things set in front of you. This sticking, like overcoming the obstacles that are in front of you in order to rise up above us to a certain point, but also just overcoming life's obstacles, your lot in life, and trying to rise above that. And so he has a lot of that, and as he goes on with his journey to overcome all this stuff, a lot of the stuff that some of the beginning of the movie presents kind of gets glossed over with that, especially the way the movie ends, on that note of just the focus on on the event rather than where it loses its focus on his life and how the event overcomes everything. So I think there's a lot to unpack there with that stuff.
Yeah. It surprises me every time I watch it that I forget how little of it is a boxing movie. There's only about 15 minutes of boxing in the entire movie. And it's not really, in fact, it's about anything but boxing in a lot of ways. It's just about these kind of underseen people within society. And as Steve rightly pointed out, the fact that need a bit of luck, need a bit of a break, but actually at the heart of it, anybody can be, and with a break, regardless of who's around them or otherwise, people can rise up and do something good and feel good about themselves. And my favorite bit about the screenplay in its entirety is it never glamorizes anybody, sort of within it. Like Rocky he's a hero and he's somebody you can really get behind, but he's not exactly this kind of embodiment of good or anything. He's just somebody that kind of made a change for himself and became a better version of himself because of an opportunity that he was given, and kind of everything else that went along with that. It's a very endearing story, and it's very easy to root for the idea of Rocky, because much like the idea of Rocky is what pervades through all of the movies. Then is like he's almost like a national symbol himself, by the end of it, and by the time you go up to 4, and that becomes very much the central theme of nationalism within it, but these films are, and especially this first one, is about something that's very much more personal at that point, and about a personal journey and about poverty and all of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta remember he's actually a criminal.
Yeah.
In the movie, kind of forgets that by the end. It does, and I was a little surprised by that, because it's not something that I ever thought about when I watched it, ages ago. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, wow, he's a strong man for a thug, and he and he, of course, he plays it a little nicer. He lets the guy off without breaking his finger or whatever, and he has this kind of oh, okay, I'll do better next time, boss, and so he has that little bit of charm about him, and and it's weird because the boss also kind of lets him off. He warns him. He says,
Yeah.
"Don't do that again, you'll okay. I can't be looking like this." But the boss shows up at the fight, and everybody's happy, and they're like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And and there's no consequences to any of that interaction between them, and the what they do. The underlying things of what they do, what they're doing, is actually wrong, but it's all kind of forgotten and glossed over as we focus on the hard work that Rocky's putting into getting ready for this, and all the and you're cheering for that because you want to recognize the efforts that he's putting in, and the efforts that he's putting into developing this relationship with Adrian, and I've just found it funny that kind of stuff just goes by the wayside when the event happens, and it's all about that, at the end, and his triumph of pure it's stubbornness, really, obstinacy, of just staying in the ring and trying to be the hero of that event. And it's not even so much as being a hero of the event, just surviving the event and showing that he can be there, that he belongs there, wanting to be actually belong there. Yeah.
I think it's funny you mentioned he's like a henchman. He's a kind of a thug for this bookie, but everyone disrespects him. Like everyone calls him a bum, and everyone just kind of nobody really takes him seriously, and everyone kind of treats him like crap the whole time. Even though he is this strong henchman who boxes, no one really takes him very seriously. So I think that comes out later when Mick comes to offer to coach him after he tried to throw him out of the gym and tries to come back and play nice. That scene was really, I thought was really impactful from
Mm.
for him just going on and on and on about just he kind of just lets loose all these, just feeling like he's being disrespected and not taken seriously and not given a chance. And now people want a chance that he's in a position to succeed. But yeah, I was really impressed with the screenplay and with the story overall. I'm really impressed.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a terrific screenplay, an absolutely brilliant screenplay. In fact, and I think Stallone is brilliant in the role because he doesn't oversell it. He does kind of play to stereotype to a certain point of view, but the physicality thing, like even when he's training at the start, he's training in his leather jacket. Like I just love that part, those parts of it. He doesn't have any gear. He's just trying to run about and do it. And he just has his hat and his stuff. He doesn't have anything to him. And the bit about the henchman I think is quite funny because yes, he is a criminal, and yes, he's not great. But I think that the movie sort of paints that in the light that it is, and that he has no other option. Like the very first scene is
Yeah.
obviously of him fighting, and he gets the crap beat out of himself and all the rest of it, and he picks up, $40 less what he owes everybody, so $27. When's the next time he can fight? 2 weeks time until he gets another $27. And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, this is not. And as you quite rightly say, Steve, even for that, even for somebody that can go in and punch the head and break somebody's nose and all of that kind of stuff, nobody has any time for him. In much the same way as nobody has any time for Adrian. Nobody sees anything in her. And even when he does show an interest in her, even though he's almost the runt of the litter in society, everybody thinks he's playing a joke in dating this girl, Adrian, and that kind of stuff. So there's something very affirming, but also in just kind of shining a spotlight on just everybody's a person. Everybody is capable of something, regardless. And it might not be, you know, world champion or other, but I really like the ending for a couple of reasons. One, you don't actually know the outcome at the end. It's not about whether he wins or he loses or anything like that. It's the fact that he was there, and even at the precipice of achieving something great, all that he's concerned about is this new relationship that he's got. It's pretty much a love story more than a boxing movie in its own way, for as much time as both get. And the fact that he's precipice of making something of himself, and he's still just only blinkered about one thing, really.
Yeah. Yeah. It really, like you mentioned, that it points out that the acceptance of these people's lot in life, where you can't get by with just doing what you are doing for a career. Even his buddy, his
Fully.
Adrian's brother. Adrian's brother, he has a job, but he
Mhm.
wants to do what Rocky's doing. Because there's this underlying thing that it's not enough. That being legit, going straight is not enough. You need that extra upper hand to in whether it's legal or not, in order to get by. And I so that's how he takes on this hero persona, because he is doing that. And
Mhm.
he and everybody just it's weird. It's weird. The situation is weird because it's not um this 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 veneer of having a occupation where you're actually breaking the law, but but people overlook it, has a certain, I don't know, it's a weird shine to it that people are looking at that as a plus rather than as a negative, except for when they call him a tomato and stuff like that, and and but that seems to be the it comes with the territory kind of thing,
Yeah.
So him and Adrian make an interesting couple. I was really surprised how I think the way the movie dates itself the most is the scenes when Rocky and Adrian are together in the beginning. That was kind of uncomfortable. That was kind of rough.
Yeah. You're not allowed to leave.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. One of the things that really, because Adrian was the turtle, basically. She's the turtle. Like he has pet turtles,
Mhm.
and the whole turtles coming out of this shell and stuff like that. She had a big shell, and Rocky's the point of Rocky was to bring her out of her shell, the whole time. But yeah, Steve, you're right, and that's a little um, unacceptable behavior, I guess would be the word for today. Um, a little forceful in his bringing her out of the shell.
Yeah.
Stalkerish almost, I guess. But he does treat her nicely. It's not like he's not being he's being a stereotypical guy of the time in his lot in life, in his society that he's in, but um he doesn't treat her as poorly as her brother does.
Yeah.
Which was another,
Yeah.
her brother was representing keeping her in the show, and
Yeah.
Rocky's trying to take her out of the show.
Yeah. That scene with Polly where she grabs him and he basically doesn't see her either, as a person in his life. As much as at the start he's like, oh, she needs to get out of the house and live a life and all the rest of it. He doesn't see her. He doesn't see what she does for him. He doesn't see the place that she has in his life. And when she goes to try and make one herself, I think he sort of feels he's been left behind and feels threatened by that. Actually, at the end of the day, I also wonder if it was made today, I wonder if they would keep that scene in, because actually, as we kind of talked about, Rocky is not really painted as this paragon, or even as this person that we should all really look up to. As you say, he's kind of shady in a lot of the things that he chooses to do or he's forced to do, or otherwise he doesn't really have that strong moral compass the way he do. He's just, as we say around here, he's a punter. He's just a person that sort of lives with what he has, and he's sort of a product of where he's grown up, etc. So even if that was made today, I think the movie would benefit from that being kept in to show that he's not necessarily somebody to be looked up to carte blanche. You know what I mean? He's not this kind of fully formed individual, even though he is 30. He should be on that kind of other side of growing up kind of thing, but he's not. But it is uncomfortable to watch, certainly by today's standards. There's no doubt about that.
I think that's what makes him relatable is that he's not perfect. He's not the Boy Scout. He's not he's not like a lover boy who's, the women are after or anything, or everyone wants to be like him. He's just a regular guy trying to make it work. Nobody really cares about him. Nobody really takes him seriously. He's do what he has to get by. He's well intentioned, but he's kind of a knucklehead, and he just kind of finds a way to, like both of you mentioned, just to survive, not to win. And that's what I loved about the ending, was that it really wasn't about them announcing who won or who lost. It was more about he made it. He survived through the rounds and he got to the end.
Yeah. And that scene where he basically says, well, what about the rematch? There won't be any rematch. I mean, we know there will be, because that's the way the movies work, etc. Yeah. But he's got that kind of thing that he doesn't want to rematch. Creed doesn't want to rematch because it was tough and painful, and Creed who wouldn't even look at him when he was fighting and preparing for the fight. He didn't dismiss him, seen him at the end, and realized that he could have been beaten for a man that didn't go the distance and all that kind of stuff. So for all the showmanship, etc., he didn't embrace the people that you don't see, or he didn't give any time and respect, and he has a couple of broken ribs to show for the fact that that he didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty important line in the beginning of the film where it was, you are who you hang out with. And I think that gets reflected because, even towards the end, because what you said about being seen, Apollo was who he hung out with as well. He was a little full of himself, and he had all these sycophants around him sucking up to him. There was one guy who was kind of trying to point things out, and he ignored him, and so you had that one guy, that one voice of dissent that was trying to say, hey, hello, there's something else going on here. And so like you said, at the end he sees him, and that's part of breaking out of that, who you are, who you hang out with. You're more, you should be more than just your circumstances. You're as a person, and I think they both, by the advent of beating the shit out of each other, they both came to realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised how long we spend with him, even before he starts. I think it's halfway through the movie. I think it's an hour in that he's even picked to fight Creed.
Yeah.
So it's a long time to get to that point. And then I think Chris, you mentioned the 15 minutes at the end of actual boxing. I mean, we do see him working, like montages of him drinking raw eggs and working out, but the focus was more on him and his relationship with Adrian and Polly and the rest of the neighborhood. I remember it being much more about boxing when I thought of it, but it was not a whole lot about boxing at all.
And I think it is very different from the other films in the franchise for that reason. It's a much more personal story and less about, like, I think the other films are about winning, and overcoming an oppressive enemy in some ways. But this one is just about him overcoming himself. And actually, my favorite scene of the entire movie is where he's sitting on the bed with Adrian, basically saying, I can't beat him. I can't do this, and he's afraid. And he's just unsure of himself, and for all the training, he's the best he's ever been of himself, and he still has doubts. You see him in his training regime, can barely make it up the steps, walking, he's wheezing, etc. And then obviously he runs up the steps and bounces around the top, and he's literally on top of the world. And that's when he kind of has this realization that, mentally he doesn't think he can beat him or do it. He's not developed enough in that part yet. And I think that's such a great moment of vulnerability, especially for a film that's sort of ramping up to him being sort of Superman in some ways.
Yeah, it's a great contrast for him to have those huge doubts, even though, like you said, he's in like the best shape of his life, and he's tip-top form. And I think that if he was just boxing another one of the regular matches that he had, he would be super high. Like,
yeah.
I'm going to wipe the floor with this guy and what have you. And but of course he's buying into the media that everybody else is buying into. This guy's the champ of the world. He's got the symbols. He's got the the Uncle Sam hats and all that stuff. And that's the image. That's the constant media image you get. And it's easy to believe that. It's easy to get drawn into that, get sucked into that, and see it as something insurmountable because it's so powerful of an image. And yeah, so it's a great contrast with him having his small moment of, I feel on top of the world, like you said, on top of the steps, and coming down to reality into his crappy old apartment, and
It was rough.
Yeah. I like and the funny thing is, like, the movie starts off with this music, this bold announcement type music, this dun, 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 here's the show, and then we get into the fighting. Like, you got Jesus watching over these two guys beating the crap out of each other, and I thought that was kind of interesting imagery there, and you get these two guys in there. They look horrible because they're in rough shape, and you get the money that they get is like nothing. It's horrible wages, and you get this cold hard facts of the business of boxing and the business of crime, and it's just really put in your face. The bold announcement at the beginning with the music wasn't about the spectacle. It was about these cold hard facts of life ramming at home. And I don't remember, but I don't remember hearing music again until his training regimen to get ready for the big fight. Because like all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, this movie doesn't have a lot of music, and all of a sudden when he goes into the training regimen to get ready for the big fight, that's when you start hearing the music again and the theme songs, and it was quite a while before it got there again. There was a lot of time with just dialogue and the sounds of the regular sounds of life, and before you had this big announcement again, and I just found that was pretty fascinating too.
Yeah. The use of music, Jared, is something I was going to bring up as well. This is the ultimate banger of a song. Like, Gonna Fly Now is absolutely, there's nobody who went to the gym and been feeling it, I can't push through, and didn't go, right, I'll stick on Gonna Fly Now because it'll give me that extra 10%. There's nobody has ever went to the gym and not done that. The other one is Vince Cole's training montage from Rocky IV as well. They're the two that people always reach for. But it's almost as if they knew that this film had to be rewatched, because they play with that motif of that song quite a lot, even from the very, very start, as you say. They sort of skirt around it a little bit, and then it comes back later on through the movie, and it's very soft, and they never actually go into the full thing until the end, the thing that is ultimately famous. But that motif gets used again and again and again in so many different ways, and it's so clever, I think, because it's almost like him. There's bits and parts of him that are there. You can see what he's going to be throughout the film, and it's only at the end that when he kind of puts it together that he kind of rises up, and the tune kind of comes together at the end, and that it is such a great song. It's so good because it's so iconic, and it's because it's used very well in the film.
Yeah, so memorable.
Yeah, and it carries the emotional resonance as well. Then when it does hit, because you tie the two things together.
Absolutely, yeah. I remember hearing that in they were even using that in football practice in my high school.
Yep.
It's just everybody knew it. Like, it was just that's the thing. That's the training song. That's the workout song. That's what to help you get ready. And it's from this, and it's just right. You're right. It's an incredible piece of music because it hits all those notes. It hits all those things, and pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I love the newscast from the Meat House.
Yes.
So
that cracked me up.
It's a great thing.
It's a great scene.
Punching slabs of meat.
Yeah.
But it works for so many reasons. One, because it doesn't feel, it feels totally unstaged, if you know what I mean. Like there is an awkwardness to it, as if there's a realness to it. Even Paulie kind of trying to get in the background when they start the interview and start again.
Oh yeah.
But then the imagery of him at the end with the blood of the meat on his hands, like a very, very strong visual image for kind of his life and kind of his progress and what this means to him and all of that kind of stuff. It really ends up with the resonance to it at the end. And he still looks awkward during it. He's kind of holding his hands up and he's like, "Is this okay, guys?" You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it says a lot. And even when he first started doing it, they gave us a little hint about the end of the movie because he said, "Hey, don't break the ribs of my meat, you know."
Yes.
And
Oh yeah.
so yeah, little stuff like that was all was really good, really well done.
Yeah, actually, on that point, I mean, the whole movie became synonymous, or the whole movie franchise became synonymous with the idea that Rocky was an incredible body puncher. I mean, that was the thing. I know that's almost a metaphor for working class America. You know, in a lot of ways, you just keep on taking the hits again and again to the body, and eventually they take their toll on him. It's not the flashy. It's not the kind of, even though he has a knockdown in the first round and all of that kind of stuff. It's you win the long yards by playing the game and continually doing the right things again and again. And it's sort of, I really like that metaphor for that, alongside the meat packing plant and all that. But again, very working class Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just hilarious. Yeah. We're here at the meat packing place. It cracked me up.
Yeah.
Very unorthodox training training strategies.
Love it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just I do love seeing movies from the 70s and probably even the 80s and prior of people drinking at work like it's normal. It's like, oh, okay. Mickey's just, you know. Oh.
Just, he doesn't look well for 76. I'm just going to put that out there. People age better these days than the back then.
Yeah, Paulie, I mean, yeah. I'm surprised knowing that the franchise goes on that they look as good as they do through the other movies.
Yeah.
Was the actor 76? I don't think he was. Who was
No,
who's that?
well, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, what did you think about the Adrian announcing her love for Rocky, in the ring? He's calling out to her, Adrian, and finally she gets in there, and that's when they're like, "Oh, I love you, and what do you think about that? Because I'm kind of like, on one hand, I'm like, well, wait a minute, does it take that you're a man getting the crap beat out of him for you to to realize this and say this, or is it that powerful of emotional moment that is needed to bring that out of her? What do you think about that?
Well, I think the interesting thing about that is she didn't watch the fight at all. She was just listening to the noises. I mean, she sat and took herself away from it and only seen the aftermath of it. So like that declaration of love is there's a question over what caused it in some ways, because it wasn't getting caught up in the fervor of the progression of the boxing match, which tells you it's, for her, it's not about the fact that he's a successful boxer. I think that's what that's basically trying to say, even though the circumstances of her saying it are quite unusual. No need to say not his greatest moment. Probably, he didn't have a suit on. His face was all busted up to hell. He couldn't have been looking his best.
No, he was not looking his best.
Yeah, but that's part of it. I'm like, what is it that that amount of violence brings out in people,
Mhm.
that amount of emotional attachment, there's something there. There's something to be said there about the human nature, and how does that relate to us as a people, as a species,
Mm.
that that first of all, that we need this gladiatorial show, basically. Why do we need this, and what is it really representing here? But when it happens, why are we so caught up in it, in
Mhm.
this show of two people beating the hell out of each other? Why are we drawn to that, and what is it about us that wants to see that and wants to get that result, and brings out those emotions in people? And there's a lot to unpack there about, you know and it goes for any kind of sport, really, for as far as any kind of violent sport, really, like a football or what have you, and hockey and stuff. But boxing especially, I mean, that's the ultimate pugilism.
Yeah.
I guess you could say nowadays it's the cage fighting thing, whatever they're doing now, but the UFC thing. But
I think part of it is primal that draws people to combat sports anyway. But yeah, I think there's no place to hide when you're in the ring like that with somebody else. There's no faking your way through it. It's just a matter of preparation and skill and a little bit of luck.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
mean,
I will
it
point out,
does.
Burgess Meredith was 67 when
Hmm.
that film
Oh,
was made.
okay.
So as Mickey, again, doesn't look that great for 67, but maybe just has a cheeky face. Paulie was 35 when the film was made.
No
So
way.
yeah,
Wow.
Burt Young.
Wow.
People age better now, Steve.
Apparently so, yeah, because I guess more like 60 something.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Impressed.
I will
That's
say,
fun.
Carl Weathers is great as Creed. He
Mhm.
really makes that role. I think he has the showmanship and the swagger and the charisma to kind of totally pull that off. Even the coming into the ring with I want you," kind of it's he really makes that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I thought that his I kind of expected that out of his character when he's going into the ring, but I thought all the other stuff leading up to the fight was really telling about his character. Even just the way he said he was like, well, because he was supposed to be fighting somebody else or whatever, and the way he went about, let's get a local, let's let's make this into a show that's for the people and stuff like that. And there was I thought there was a lot of depth to his character just in those moments where
Yeah.
he does that. He looks for people. He looks to the people to bring him an offering, basically, and so he is kind of set up as this pampered Roman gladiator type, where he's gotten to the point where he can pick and choose his delights, and the way he adds on to his fame and adds on to his legacy and stuff. And um I like all that characterization, and the sycophants around him, how he deals with them, how he's dealing with the manager, the media, and he's directing it all. He is in charge of it all. And I thought that like you said, he did a great job with that. His characterization came out even more in those moments, I think, than because I kind of expected him to be the way he was in the ring, but that stuff leading up to it, I thought was really, really potent.
Small cast, but I really think everybody did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how many people were made by this movie? Like got their start because of it, or were elevated to better jobs because of it.
Stallone for sure. I think Carl Weathers had a few movies, right? And he did
He
pretty
was
well for
impressed.
himself.
Yeah. He was in a lot of movies. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But Stallone, yeah, Stallone's career was kind of made up. That's and unlike some of the other guys that he was kind of associated with, like Schwarzenegger, etc., he made it by making his own path. It's a very Rocky-like story in some ways because he wrote the screenplay and he took it to people and got it made and did it out of like pure talent, aside from the physicality and stuff that he brought to the role. You know, I love Stallone's story for that because he sort of made it happen for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that led to the Oscar winning, if it because of how much his role actually reflected his own underdog status, and people said, "Wow, this movie really actually reflects his own journey." And I wonder if people got caught up in that very mania and voting for this one to win the Oscar over these other great films that you mentioned earlier, Steve. The Taxi Driver, Network, and the other ones. What was that?
All the President's Men was
All the
that one?
President's
Yeah.
All the Presidents. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
So you had some powerhouse films in the running here, and I wonder if just the whole underdog aspect, just people got swept up in that and pushed this one through.
Yeah, well, again, we talk about this kind of narrative and what it builds on previous years, and obviously, the Godfather films had sort of dominated 2 of the past 3 years, and they were crime families and kind of, again, you were sort of rooting for them, but didn't feel good about rooting for them because of their association with crime. And then you had this essentially an immigrant hero kind of rising up. This would have been around the time, not long after his Vietnam War ended as well, and sort of people wanting to feel good about themselves, etc., doing all that kind of stuff as well. So it sort of hit a perfect storm, probably around that time, because the story on screen mirrored the story of the screenplay, etc., as well. This kind of, it was an easy sell, I think. This American dream almost in the making, both on screen and on off screen as well. So there's no doubt that you look at it and go, as much as I love Rocky, I can sort of look at it and go, with the list of films that won in the 70s, go, it does stick out a little bit, especially when you consider some of the things it was up against. It is not the revered classic, let's say, Network or Taxi Driver is for an awful lot of people. But I think it is also representative of what people want to see and embrace them, because I don't think there's any way anybody can say that Rocky isn't very good at the type of film that it is. In fact, it's excellent to this day. It's still a phenomenally strong, emotional, almost manipulative film in some ways, about getting you to root for somebody that maybe you don't want to root for, but you do want to root for, because he's sort of everybody, in
He's
the
a
world
thug.
at the time.
He's a tomato.
He's a tomato.
Yeah, bum.
You bum.
Even the fact, his nickname Italian Stallion, how did he get it? He gave it to himself,
Yeah.
Well, I made it up.
It's so right.
I mean, if we go back to like '69 with Midnight Cowboy, Midnight Cowboy, the French Connection, to some extent, The Godfathers, not The Sting, but maybe even One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And now Rocky, it has a much more gritty and personal feel than I think films before that had. And even we can even go back to '67 with In the Heat of the Night. It was kind of more of a, kind of living in the city, trying to get by, life challenges type of thing. Not a big spectacle. It was more of a kind of a more personal stories. That seems like we're moving that direction now, away from from the other ones. And I don't hate to put Patton in there, but Patton was, yeah, that was Patton. But the other ones were pretty kind of a more of a gritty feel to it.
Indeed.
Close to, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of 1977 is Annie Hall.
Never seen it.
Neither have I. It beat out Star Wars.
Woody Allen.
Woody Allen
Yep.
satirical romantic comedy. That's the bad part about winning an award over a classic movie franchise is that you'll always get the hate for it, you know. It'll never be taken seriously. But we'll see how it goes.
Is Star Wars an Oscar-winning type movie? Maybe not.
I don't know about that, but it was great. But
Yeah, that's a great movie.
I
Still watch it today.
I actually just watched it the other day.
Yeah.
It was on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Annie Hall's up next. Anything else you guys have about Rocky?
I think we're good.
Yeah. I like Rocky a lot.
Yeah.
I could watch Rocky once a year happily for the rest of my life. Like, and there's plenty of other better movies that I maybe don't say that about. And it's not the shortest movie. It's not, you know what I mean. It's not like it's an 80-minute runtime and easy to run by, and it's heavy in places, but it is a payoff that always got to move.
Yeah, it was 2 hours, but didn't feel like 2 hours.
Yeah,
it really flew by. But yeah, I mean, it easily cracks my top 10. I'm not sure about my top 5, but top 10 for sure.
Like, even when we get to the end, this Rocky is going to be hard to leave out of a top 10 because of how you feel at the end of it. You know, there's an awful lot of films with heavy themes that are really emotional and all of that kind of stuff. But this one is kind of unique in some way in the list of films that we've watched. It's like the kind of film you watch after Oliver to make yourself like it's the opposite of Oliver. Even though he goes to live with all the rich people at the end and all works out for Oliver, it doesn't feel like a good movie in terms of like what you have to sit through and watch through and kind of the hard nature of his life and how miserable and all that kind of stuff. But this one, pick you up.
Yeah, I think it does leave a good taste in your mouth at the end. It definitely leaves you on a high, on a good feeling at the end. So that helps. So until next time with Annie Hall, Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at Chronicle Chris. You can find me on Patreon.com. You can find me on the podcast Speculative Speculations.
And Jared.
And you can find me at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel, and as well as on Spectrum Speculations and Panel Chewing and PageChewing.com.
Yeah, find me in PageChewing.com. And until next time, we will talk to everyone very soon.